Defund Fest, organized by the Coalition to Defund the Police. Organizers Ted Rutland and Jessica Cujano gave examples of why it's important to defund the police.
We organize around those 10 demands, and they're, demands that speak to the specific issues that member groups are working on, as well as they point towards, a bunch of things we can do to create a world with much less police, much more safety, and much more justice. So I'll just say really briefly those 10 demands. Le premier, c'est de réduire le financement de la police par 50%. Cut the police budget by 50%. Deuxième, c'est désarmer la police et abolir les escouades comme le SWAT. Disarm the police, eliminate the SWAT team. Troisième, c'est d'investir dans des méthodes de justice alternatives, starting with indigenous justice models, other ways of dealing with harm, creating accountability when people commit harm, and transforming the society through that rather than arresting someone and throwing them in prison. Quatrième, c'est d'investir dans des programmes de prévention de la violence communautaire. We know that violence prevention in community works. We can prevent violence. The police do not prevent violence. They just arrest people after violence has occurred. Le cinquième, c'est de créer des escouades civiles pour répondre aux appels d'urgence non criminels ou non violents. We know that we can create civilian unarmed teams who can respond to calls when there's an emergency that don't need to be armed, they don't need to have a power of arrest, they can have other kinds of training that can actually help people when they have to make a call. Sixième, c'est de créer des programmes et des services dans des communautés criminalisées. There are so many neighborhoods in Montreal where the only investment we make is police. We want less police in those neighborhoods, and we want more of everything else. More programs for youth, better after-school programs, art, sports, things that people can afford. We need to invest in the communities that we've underinvested in and sent the police in to deal with the symptoms of that. Le septième, c'est de décriminaliser les drogues, le travail de sexe et le statut VIH. That goes without saying, and we've got Spectre Rue talking about harm reduction, other ways of dealing with the harms that sometimes result from drug use without needing the police. We've got a workshop later this afternoon about a campaign to decriminalize drug possession. Septième, on est presque là, c'est d'éliminer les règlements municipaux qui sont là juste pour contrôler le monde. Eliminate all these bylaws around what they call incivilité. Laws that have to do with not resting on a bench, not drinking or urinating in public. Laws that were created primarily to repress unhoused people and other people who are marginalized in public space. Neuvième, c'est d'abolir la police dans les écoles. Get police out of schools and other youth spaces. They don't need to be there. Et finalement, éliminer la collaboration entre la police et la police des frontières. Eliminate the collaboration between the police and the CBSA to end the surveillance and control of migrant people in our city. Alors ça, c'est les 10 revendications. On continue à croire qu'ils sont très importants et si on peut faire des progrès sur toutes les revendications, c'est des pas vers un monde avec moins de police, idéalement un jour sans police.
Thank you, Ted. So since when we asked for a 50% reduction, the City of Montreal actually increased the police budget. So I think that what's really important is that we can start taking these steps within our own communities and not wait for governments to do so. So it's getting to know people in your community. This week was very tragic. We had 9 overdose deaths. 4 of them were Indigenous. Working with street communities, it's really breaks my heart that those things can be prevented if things were put into place. And it's also to invest more than just into harm reduction, is to offer culturally safe places for people to heal, to detox. We have actually the solutions, and it's definitely not a money issue since we keep increasing money for police. So sometimes I think that what we can do is find out what are the organizations in our area, who are the people that may be struggling in our neighborhoods. If there's like a neighbor that might be, dealing with some kind of mental health issues, or maybe there might be some domestic violence and so forth, is to get to know them. Because sadly enough, when we call the police 911, it's kind of a toss-up of like what's going to happen. And like we wanted to think about like the times that here in the last recent years with Pierre Corriera, Nicholas Gibbs, Sheffield Matthews, those were people dealing with mental health crises, and their deaths were senseless. Like if we would have sent people to actually respond with compassion, they would be alive today. So I am asking that we like show a lot of compassion towards each other, maybe meet people that may not understand what defunding the police, to meet them with compassion, not judgment, because it's something that we've been taught that police are there to protect. It's like really a societal value. We see it in media and movies, and they might not understand. So it's really not to come from a judgment, and that's how we change consciousness, and that's how we change how this issue, and that's how we're going to defund the police and hopefully dismantle and abolish it at some point. Maybe not in my lifetime, but I'm confident.
She's gonna let you 100, so we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I think that it's a. Sometimes we talk about dual power. We need to like build new ways of relating to one another in our communities, and we need to and when we do that, we also build the power to force governments to do what we want to do. So we don't all need to be working on all these things all the time, but at some point we do need the city government to cut the police budget, and so it does mean also that the current city government, Projet Montréal, is an enemy. They've increased the police budget more than any other city in Canada since 2010. They've passed the two largest budget increases in the history of this city. They've increased the budget more since 2020, when a movement to defund the police and in support of Black residents and Indigenous residents, other people harmed by the police, emerged. They responded to that movement by going in the other direction and increasing the budget more than they had before there was a movement. It's a party that's really good at making bike lanes, and I bike year-round. I love the bike lanes, but it's also a party of white gentrifiers like this guy, and that their base is not affected by the police, so they don't care, and B, a characteristic of white gentrifiers and property owners is they like the police because they don't like les choses qui nous fait peur, which are not dangers. They're sources of discomfort for people who just are used to feeling pleasant everywhere. And so, we need to build a movement in our communities to support each other, and a movement against this government to pressure them to do things that they will not do, and in the long term get an actual left-wing government that supports justice for everyone into power. And so lastly, I want to say thank you to the people who organized this event. Jess and I have been involved for 3 years, but we're tired. Aussi, il y a plein de groupes de travail. Alors, il y a des groupes qui travaillent sur plein de choses, dont un groupe qui travaille sur l'organisation de l'événement aujourd'hui. Ils ont travaillé pendant 3 ou 4 mois. Ils ont fait un énorme travail. Ça va nous bénéficier tout le monde, tous. Alors, the people to thank are Noélie, Gabrielle, Jay, Lacey, Asif, Sona, Scott with 1 T, and Sasha. Thank you so much, team. It's already a wonderful event. It's already wonderful to see you here. They made this happen. We all made this happen because we're here, but it's going to feel better as the day goes on. And the last thing is, if you don't have a schedule for the event, they're available at the 3 welcome tents right there, and right there. The workshops are happening in these 2 spaces over here. This is known as left stage. This is known as right stage, but we're all to the left, so it's like question of degrees. And so the first 2 workshops that are happening are one right there called Policing and Resistance in Little Burgundy, 1980s to present. So it's a history of the struggle against the police in the neighborhood in which we're standing. Et l'autre, c'est Disrupting White Supremacy through Storytelling. Alors, on va prendre une pause de comme 5 minutes. Et si vous êtes intéressé à assister à un atelier, vous pouvez aller là-bas ou là-bas. Et je vous souhaite une très belle journée. Je suis très content de vous voir.
Thank you so much. wonderful day.